Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux, here with a middle of the year review of the best films of 2024 so far. Now, I've only seen 12 films this year, so this isn't going to be a super great list. And I gotta say that a lot of what I have seen, I've been kind of cool on. Like, there's been 4 movies that I've really embraced. But outside of that, a lot of what I've seen has been not spectacular. I will still give you my top 10 and singular worst film, but there are some major films that I just haven't gotten a chance to see that I've heard pretty great things about. I'm thinking things like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That's one that I was really excited for, just didn't get around to seeing. There's a lot of good buzz I've heard about the film Ghostlight that I'm really intrigued by and interested in. I haven't seen Fall Guy. I have a couple friends who swear that that is the best film of the year, and I'm really excited to see that one myself. Just haven't gotten around to it. But for what I have seen, this is my top 10, starting with the number 10 spot, and we'll work our way up to number 1. In the 10 spot, we have Mean Girls, the musical remake of Mean Girls from 2004. This film is really just a phenomenal audition tape for the filmic career of Renee Rapp. She owns this film that is otherwise unremarkable, but she's great in it and lands in my 10th spot. My number 9 spot is the guilty pleasure film Madam Web. I kind of enjoyed Madam Web. I had a blast of a time watching Madam Web, and I think you will too if you give it a chance. And I do maintain, completely unironically, that it is the best of the Sony-verse of the Spider-Man movies that they've done. I like it better than either Venom, specifically Venom 2, which I think is the worst that Marvel has ever put out. And I do think it's also better than Morbius. That said, Madam Web did take the nation by storm when it dropped on Netflix, so I think there's a fair amount of people out there that agree with me, at least on some level, that there's enjoyment to be had there. In the number 8 spot and moving upwards, I think are all genuinely good movies, unironically. Number 8 spot is the Book of Clarence. This is a kind of interesting take on religion that I found pretty intriguing. I think it has some of the most interesting and powerful visual storytelling elements for like a religious miracle and action that has stuck with me, even if the rest of the film hasn't as much. But it's got some great performances, especially from Lakeith Stanfield, who is always phenomenal, but hot damn is he not amazing in this. Or is he not amazing in this? In the number 7 spot, we have Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, I think is what it's called. This was a really cool movie. You know, the worst aspect of it is the Godzilla of it all. I don't think he was necessary for this film, but the Kong stuff all works. Kong, the other apes that he shares a lineage with, all of that stuff is really quite good. There's a Son of Kong element that's at play that kind of works, and I like all the Kong stuff, and there's a surprise kaiju that shows up in it that has always been one of my favorite kaijus, and I was really excited to see that. In the number 6 spot is Argyle. You know, sometimes a big dumb movie got a big dumb, and it was a phenomenal time. I had a hell of a time watching this movie. It was big enjoyment from front to back. Yes, it's big and dumb, but it's kind of advertised as such. And I thought that Sam Rockwell, Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, everybody brought their A game to make what works work, and the stuff that doesn't work kind of isn't a movie that's so silly that it didn't need to work for me, and I just had a good time with it all the way through. Speaking of big dumb movies, in the number 5 spot is Under Paris, the sort of reinvention of the shark movie that is by no means Jaws and far more along the lines of A Deep Blue Sea, but I really enjoyed myself. It stars the leading actress Berenice, I can't remember her last name. She was from The Artist, if you remember that film. And she is an aquatic expert whose been radically shaped by sharks in her lifetime, and when sharks come into the rivers of running under Paris, she sort of leads an effort to try and get the sharks moving out before they multiply. And this is kind of like a shark film by way of a pandemic movie, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was a good time. The last shot of the movie, I understand some people found the ending to be like a complete turn off. I disagree. I love the last shot of the movie and the end credits and stuff like that. Is chef's kiss gold. Loved it. In the number 4 spot moving forward, I think these are all genuinely good movies, and I absolutely love them all for what they are. In the number 4 spot is Dune Chapter 2, or as I've been calling it, or is it Part 2? Dune. Dune 2 is a huge, remarkable step up from the first Dune, which is a film that I liked but did not love. This film I unabashedly love. It is, I think, the best looking movie of the year, and it really brings some phenomenal performances from everybody in the film, but most especially Zendaya. I was a big fan of Dune 2. You can check out my full review. Maybe I'll link that below. In the number 3 spot is the Netflix film Damsel, which a lot of people didn't seem to like, but I really, really loved. This is definitely kind of survival porn at its best. It's just watching Millie Bobby Brown get horrifically injured for 10-minute sections, and then she like cleans herself up and moves on trying to heal, and then gets horrifically injured again for 90 minutes straight. But I really, really enjoyed this sort of reworking or reinvention of the damsel in distress scenario. But yeah, for whatever reason, it's not getting the love I feel it deserves. Up until Dune 2, I thought this was the best looking movie of the year. It has a strong performance from Millie, and I loved what they did with the dragon. The whole look of everything, the art direction and stuff like that is just great. It's only too bad that this didn't get released on a theatrical market, because I think it would have looked really good on the big screen, especially with how dark it is. When you have an actual projector, it tends to brighten some of the dark spots. I think it would have looked great, but I love Damsel. Moving on to my number 2 film is Abigail. The only criticism I can hurl at Abigail is that the big twist is spoiled in the trailers. If you've not seen the trailers, just launch yourself into this movie and have an amazing time. As is, the film is a really fun kind of kidnapping movie, like Ransom by way of Fright Night. And it has that tongue-in-cheek humor. It is a smart film. It's made by the directors who reinvented the 2 Scream movies in the modern decade. And they pull some stunningly good performances from Marissa Barrera, from Catherine Newton, who I think is at her best in this film, and Dan Stevens is just great. He has a line of dialogue in the movie that still just makes me laugh so hard every time I think about it. It is a great movie, and a good companion piece to another film of its type that may have been made by Robert Rodriguez. In the number 1 spot is Inside Out 2. This movie is a phenomenal companion piece to the original Inside Out. It's not quite as good as that film, though few movies are. Don't hold that against it. This takes complex emotions, more complex than the emotions given in the first film, and points them at a situation that is nominally smaller than what Riley had to overcome in that first movie. But isn't that what the teenage experience is? It is feeling like even the smallest little scenario is the end of the world, and that's where anxiety looms and builds and compounds itself until you have a situation that is kind of world-ending for the individual involved. I like how complex it is in its non-complex nature. It's a smart film that I think is smarter than some people are giving it credit for. I loved this movie. It totally engaged me emotionally. It's more of a laugh riot than that first movie is. It doesn't hit me in the same feels that that first movie did, but that's okay. It's okay to engage all the feelings, and this engaged different feelings than I had in that first film, and I am here for it. If we want to continue making these Inside Out movies, bring on Inside Out 3. I think this franchise is in safe hands, this budding franchise. So that's my top 10. In the 10th place, Mean Girls. 9th place, Madam Web. 8th place, Book of Clarence. 7th place, Godzilla vs. Kong, or Godzilla x Kong, A New Empire. 6th place, Argyle. 5th place, Under Paris. And then my true best films of the year are number 4, Dune Part 2, 3, Damsel, 2, Abigail, 1, Inside Out 2. But you're also probably wondering what the worst film I think of 2024 is, and that is a safe and easy answer. All one needs to do is turn to Zack Snyder for that answer, and he will deliver Rebel Moon, The Scargiver, which is an utter piece of crap. And please, when the director's cuts come out on Netflix, under new names no less. I see what you're doing there. You're trying to get that watch time up by having us rewatch something under a different name to trick people into thinking maybe this is number 3 and number 4. Do not fall for it come August 2nd. This movie is utter garbage. I thought the first one kind of worked on a so bad it's good level. Number 2 is just simply bad. There is no redeeming value to that film, minus the visual quality that Zack Snyder brings to most of his efforts, but this is garbage and not worth your time. Do not fall for this, because that's how he's going to keep tricking you into watching his movies and supporting his career. He puts out a subpar movie, says, don't worry, the director's cut is going to explain everything, it's so much better. The director's cut comes out, people acknowledge that yes, it is better when you have more time to flesh things out. Things contextually make more sense than this when there are pieces missing. That's how puzzles work. You remove pieces of a puzzle, you get a good idea of what the whole picture is, but you don't have a complete picture. You might have a more complete idea of what Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2 are with those missing scenes and the R-rated content, but that doesn't necessarily make it actually better. And this is something that people just can't wrap their head around. He's tricked us with Watchmen. He's tricked us with Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the Justice League. So please, don't support this style of filmmaking. Let a movie be good on its own merits, independent of the director's cut that will make everything so much better. Aliens has a director's cut that I do think makes the film better, but that doesn't mean that the original cut of Aliens, or The Abyss for that matter, is a bad film. Both films are good. They are made much better when you have a better understanding of everything that was lifted out of it. Some of those scenes are very key to informing character, but I don't feel like that's something that's missing from Rebel Moon, because these characters lack character. And they are defined by archetypes and caricature. And this film is trash. Please don't support this style of filmmaking, this logic of filmmaking, and honestly this fan base that is supporting this. It's just not worth it. Let me know what your top 5 movies are in the comment section down below, as well as the worst movie of the year. I'm happy to hear what you have to say. And let me know what movies I'm missing, because honestly this year I haven't had an opportunity to see nearly as many movies as I normally do. Normally by this time I'm already 30 movies deep. Right now I'm only like 12. So I'm very, very curious what is out there that I should be seeing. Also, I will have a review for Under Paris probably this week, as well as Hitman, which I've watched the first half of, and honestly that would have definitely made this list pretty high up if, as long as it doesn't shit the bed in the final act. But there you have it. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.